Ladies and gentlemen, can everybody hear me? I came in a little strong tonight because we are talking about a very, very, very confidential topic, I want to say. Before we get into it, do me all a favor, do me a whole solid, because that's right, as always. Hit the like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your dog to tell his dog, and tell his dog to tell his little girlfriend dog. Too much? Yeah, just a little. Um, this topic I've been looking forward to a while. I've seen a documentary. It's been out. We know his history. Of course, we are talking about Vince McMahon himself. But somebody up there, he's doing backstage, he's doing jumper jacks. Before he breaks the floor doing his jumper jacks, I gotta bring him in. Jumper jacks are too strong. He can do tsunamis. Like one new wrestler. Of course, I'm talking about our good
Yeah,
friend.
he talking about me, but he referring to BMU. BMU played a
Will
couple of
you leave him
earthquake in Texas.
alone? I'm talking about
No,
you.
I'm not. I'm not earthquake. This is where the public keep. Anyone
I said
see me knows
tsunami.
I'm not
No,
gonna
no.
be
I said
earthquake.
tsunami. I did. I
Yeah,
didn't call you earthquake
people.
this time.
They can't be. I can't be an earthquake. I can't be a tsunami. There are people way bigger than me that deserve their name, but they don't give it to them. I'm like, come on, that's discrimination, man.
Fuck
Therefore,
you.
I will accept bear paw. I will accept Congo in the mid because I am African strong. That's the difference. I ain't this is fat Albert. That ain't me. Not happening. But it's all good though.
Mariana, what's going on, honey? How are you tonight?
Let's
Go.
do one
All
day
right.
at a
Hey,
time.
you know which wrestler I'm talking about, right?
I get it. But
No,
I was
no.
trying to
Do
make
you know who I'm talking about?
the wrestler earthquake.
No, he's not. And I said tsunami. His name is Bronze Reed.
Oh, Bronson Reed. That his move called a tsunami. TJ
Yeah,
could when he do that the baby squash.
dude. I'm just thinking. Imagine if you're on the receiving end of that.
I don't want to imagine that because
Me neither.
I'm not sure if he's Samoan or not Samoan because he has a Samoan tattoo on his
Uh,
forearm. I'm like, dude,
I know he's from Europe or
no, he's from
some
Australia. But
Australia.
if
I'm
you look
gonna
at it,
look that up. In the meantime, as I looked up, I'll give you the floor. Give me your opinion about this documentary, and let's
oh
piss some people
Lord,
off tonight. I think you agree.
I'll go ahead.
Go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is that conversation that we all talked about. If you have watched the documentary about Vince Kenneth McMahon, I'll tell you right now, if you haven't watch it for real, for real. Take your time to digest the information. There's something that you're gonna see will make you drop your jaw. You be like, "What? This for real?" Yeah, it's for real. The shit he went through. I myself, I was like, I don't know. I'll be honest. I was feeling sorry for the dude. Then again, I thought to understand how certain corporate head are built the way they are built due to their trauma and the upbringing they went through. I'm not gonna lie. If you think wrestling is a joke, this is one of the documentaries I will highly recommend to watch from a guy who took a business, what considered to be the gentleman business. Because if you understand the era of that time, he broke a gentleman agreement to make sure him talking why he was doing it. He destroyed a lot of people's lives as well. So I don't want to spill out so much, but damn. You really, really have to watch this documentary before you watch all the other doc. I know they have other documents about in the ring or in between the ring or what happened to other wrestlers, but it's best to watch this one for to understand how the business grew to where it is right now, today. And how you want to say this? The man created an American culture out of it. Oh, I'm telling you, you need to watch it on Netflix. I took the time to watch it, and I'm not gonna lie. The amount of information, the amount of stuff he went through, the amount of stuff what people say about him, and to the point whereby, shit, how I want to say this? This is I wanted to feel too much, but you got there's a much watch documentary. Real talk, real talk. You might want to have that type of conversation with your family and start asking questions. Why certain family members that you know act a certain way they act. Maybe it's something that they're not telling you, or maybe it's something they're ashamed of, or maybe something that happened that if you knew about it, you will. Because I found out something about my mom this week. They let me realize why my mom passed the way she passed away, and I found it extremely strange about her reaction to that particular situation. So best believe no parent is perfect out here. None. I'm gonna drop the link for Paul Bennett because he need to get on there. Cause this documentary got me. Damn, it's for real, for real. This should be a real conversation. Even though it's a white family I went through this, I won't say it's not different for what black family or other ethnic would have gone through. But I would say that this documentary is no joke. A lot of timeline was filled out. A lot of things that we didn't know behind the scene would happen. A lot of things that really took place. You'd be surprised that took place. This is why I say what I said. You need to know. You need to do your homework. You need to know what the hell is going on. We live in a time whereby people will love to listen to or believe a lie instead of doing the homework and look for the actual truth. Believe me, this is. Whew. Before I start dropping all the extra bean, let's get this show on the roll. Real talk. Come on, Pete. Sparta.
Fuck, did it again. I have a habit of muting myself when I'm in backstage, so I don't
I know.
fart in the
I know.
microphone. Dude, imagine if I ripped the one as you're talking here. You're like, the fuck? It wasn't me, guys. I
Nah.
swear to God, it wasn't me.
But the thing is, that documentary got me questioning a lot of things. I was like,
It
shit.
did too. I realized he pretty much signed his soul to the devil. I felt after watching that.
No, I was thinking that too because the first episode of that documentary, I had to sit down and think it. I was like,
Wait.
if I,
Let's back it up a second. Let's give him a little credit where it's due. I think he became a pedophile. Let's be honest, because of his father. His father wasn't there. Before we do that, let's get him in here and have a conversation with him. Ladies and gentlemen,
whew.
please rise for our president. Oh
President
God
elect.
damn you,
Poison
fucker!
Clan rocks the world.
Mr. President
Sir.
elect, are you ready to do the oath yet?
uh,
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Floor is
you
yours.
you watch the documentary?
Wait a minute. Someone reads reads it to me and I recite the words, right? I thought that's how it
Yeah,
works.
David, you want to do the honors? He selected you. I can't. I'm the
For
host. I'm on. I'm on. I selected
for the
the
introduction?
oath. Yeah, the oath.
Or I pledge allegiance to the baldness of the United States of America, for which republic which we stand, one boldness, under God, indivisible, with liberty and boldness for all.
So help me God.
Help me vote this. You mean right? Anyway, seriously, Paul, how are you tonight, brother? I saw you
Uh
had a nice dinner tonight.
yeah, wife's birthday was Thursday, so we went out there and did a little shopping, got a good meal, good place. Actually, I got a bone, I got a rant, though I may want to save for what are we talking about tomorrow?
Oh, hang on. Let me get my schedule. Sorry, I didn't check. My bad.
If you want to rant, rant, but
Men's grooming.
this conversation about Vince McMahon
Okay.
is
Yeah.
disturbing. I'm sorry. It's,
All right. I'll
All
give you the
right.
floor for a second. You want to do the opening for the documentary, and we get into it, right?
Oh well, I know. David is. You want me to just give my initial
No,
impressions or?
Yeah,
wait,
just
what's your summary? What's your summary do you got
No,
to
I mean,
start
summary,
with?
look,
whatever.
look. First of all, I'm not. Past this prologue here. Certainly, monsters generally are created, and you can go through history at. You can look at Hitler, you can look at Stalin, you can look at a lot of these guys. They had jacked up childhoods.
Amen.
That does not excuse them in any way from the acts that they did, the atrocities that they made, and Vince is no exception. I'm not comparing him to those guys in terms of what
Sheesh.
that. But I'm just saying, you know, if whatever he is accused of, if in fact he did those things, then he should rot. I have no empathy for him or what have you, at all. But certainly, there's some people who you have to hold accountable for their actions, and again, we'll get into that as the show goes on. But again, I'm always fascinated by how people, especially successful people or famous and infamous people, how they became the people that they are. And a lot of it is just due to circumstances that, as much as we talk about, the perfect or the imperfect homes that we all kind of grew up in, if they were the perfect homes, will we even hear from these people? Will we be the people they are? So sometimes people are just forged for better, for worse. I mean, we talked about the Mike Tyson fight last week, and as popular as Mike Tyson is, Mike Tyson was forged. You read his background, his biography, the stuff that he had to deal with growing up, Brownsville. If he grew up in a middle class neighborhood or whatever, we never would have heard of Mike Tyson.
That is very
He was
true.
one in a million in terms of bringing together his fears, his rage, his skills, his desire, the opportunity. I mean, you couldn't replicate that. In fact, we've been looking for it ever since. I think that's the reason why you had 60 million people that watched that, is in part because, again, we want to see, or we're asking, who's the next Tyson? Because I remember, when that stuff was happening live, I had never seen any athlete, any boxer fight like him. As devastating as he was must see. When he first came on the scene, Mike Tyson fought every 2 weeks, which is unheard of in boxing. Professional fights every 2 weeks, and he was on ESPN. You can go to YouTube right now and just look at Mike Tyson, all his fights, and somebody catalog all his fights like on ESPN, all in order, in chronological order. You can watch all of his fights. I mean, and it was like must see when you went to the lunchroom back in 1985, 1986. You could go back you could go to the lunchroom, and that's all we talked about for the whole lunch break. Mike Tyson. I mean, he was just such an incredible person. And then, but we also saw his fall also. But you could tie all that back to his background. And so, so yeah, I mean, and I think this goes right in line with what we've been talking about the last few weeks about parenting and fatherhood and whatnot. Again, you have to ask yourself, why do you want to become a parent?
Mm.
Because again, if you're not ready for that, more than likely you could be creating a monster. Now, sometimes those monsters can do some famous and infamous things, transformational things. Again, but they're like one in a million. Most people who came from Mike Tyson's background probably weren't living. He would say himself, a lot of guys he grew up with, they're not alive anymore. So, so again, you know, even for McMahon, the way he grew up would have consumed most. And so, so again, this is, to me, it's just another lesson on the larger issue of, people who are irresponsible, who are neglectful, and the monsters or the situations that are how your absence can affect someone, most of the time for the negative, sometimes for the positive, but again, even that positive comes with some negatives. Like I said, you got the person who, overcomes a lot of things and makes something of themselves, but they still carry that baggage with them. They still carry that thing that makes relationships difficult, and catches up to them sort of like over time. You can get out of the ghetto, but a lot of people get out of the ghetto, they still carry the ghetto with them, and it never leaves. At best, what they try to do is try to subdue it, try to not let it flare up, but sometimes it flares up, and sometimes it's at the wrong time, and everything that they did to get out of that situation comes back to haunt them at the end of the day. So again, this story has been told throughout history, and this is yet another almost like Shakespearean tale of an individual, like them or love them, but we can't we can't neglect or deny the circumstances that led to a Vince McMahon, just like we can't for some of these other people that I had that I had mentioned. So yeah, to me it's just again past just repeating itself over and over again. We see these people, you know, who due to extraordinary circumstances, uh, do a lot of things, and sometimes it's that one thing that they can't quite escape that ultimately sometimes is their undoing. So again, very Shakespearean in a lot of aspects.
And I have to agree with what you said about that because we talked about on the last show about parenting. That first episode of the
Hmm.
documentary, it hit it square in the subject matter. Even I myself, after watching the first episode, I had to sit down and ponder like, shit.
It makes you think.
If,
It really makes you think for a minute. Like, what the
like,
fuck?
if I were to go through that, how would I become? How would I respond toward this?
And
How would I feel?
David, hang on a second here. Like, I agree with Paul said, and you said it, and I said it before Paul came on. He had a really fucked up childhood, and that created a monster. Let's be honest here. You cannot okay. Me and Paul are Beagle dads. If you let your Beagle go crazy, Paul, who's going to be in charge?
Oh, we are.
Beagle. No, I'm saying if you didn't teach your Beagle right manners and stuff like that. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I mean, it would be destructive. I mean, for everyone
Exactly.
involved. But at the same time, I would be held responsible. And a
Correct.
lot of times with parents, again, they're not held responsible. I'm actually glad there was a case. I don't know if you guys heard, again, well, kind of on subject, but still, there's a case that happened, I think, over the summer, where this kid went out and he had deleted some kids at a high school, um,
Jesus.
and the parents were held responsible. The parents were convicted because they let the kid have access to the gun and all that, knowing that he was mentally unstable, and they still let him have access to it. The parents were convicted. And so I'm hoping this becomes a trend. All these
Shit.
mass shootings you've been seeing and whatnot, and what happened up in Connecticut and whatnot. Again, the mom gave the kid a gun knowing that he was mentally disturbed as a birthday gift or a Christmas gift or something like that, saying, "Hey, this is a good idea. Let me give my mentally disturbed son a gun." And he
And
went and did that massacre up there in Connecticut years ago.
but
So
when we talk
again,
about
I
gun, but here's the thing, Mr. Ben, when we talk about gun, we have people who we have spoke to that there's nothing wrong having a gun in a household. And I'm looking at it like I don't think you see the big picture because it's only in this American society that we have a gun issue.
mhm,
Literally have a gun.
yeah,
Every other civilized country doesn't.
So the
The amount
reasoning
of
behind
guns
that
that
is
we
two
have,
reasons.
the amount of guns that we had in this country within 2 decades surpass any war that any other country have gone
mhm,
through.
mhm.
And no
So
one
David,
thinking
hang
the
on a second. I want to
problem.
answer that. Do you know why we have that problem in America only? Anybody?
I think
Ignorance.
part of it's the Second Amendment. We're one of the few
Now,
nations. We're one of the few nations that has in its constitution the right to bear. I mean, few
so
nations have that
other
embedded that way.
countries that do have it have two things in effect: one or the other, or both. One, they take a semester with gun safety, how to handle a gun, break it down, all that stuff. And you have to pass it to graduate high school because they know at some point that you're going to have it and you learn respect with it. Again, I don't care if it's loaded or not loaded. You still treat it like it's a loaded goddamn fucking gun. And one. Two, most people in those other countries not only don't if they don't have that, they have their drafting effect. So they learn that in the service.
Mm.
Or third option, like I said, is they have both. So yeah, if you have that, I agree with it. I don't have a problem you having a firearm if you're trained correctly. When I bought my first one, I called my best friend. He goes, "Wait a minute." He goes, "You're not buying shit to you. I train you." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, I'm fucking old enough. I don't give a fuck. I'll shoot you in the balls myself. I'm like, okay, never mind. And he's a sniper. I can't win. And so he trained me. And I have a different respect for a firearm because of that reason. So let's read these comments really fast and let's move on from this subject. You guys want to read it or want me to do it?
Yeah. This one I was talking about. The father of
Yeah.
14-year-old boy accused of carrying out a deadly mass shooting at Appalachia High School in Georgia pleaded not guilty on Thursday to the charges against him. Father gave him a gun. Actually, this might be a new one. This was something that happened over the summer. There was an actual conviction of both the mother and the father. So this might be another one. But yet again, I don't want to derail this into a gun
Yeah, I don't either.
conversation. That's not. But I'm
That's a
just
gray area
saying,
more.
parenting has responsibilities. And when you
Absolutely.
neglect those, then you get monsters. Then you get people unstable in the society, but no one is holding the parents responsible. So again, conversely, look, if one of our dogs bites somebody, who's responsible?
We are.
Exactly. But it doesn't, for some reason, a lot of times it doesn't work. Now, again, I hope this trend continues where these parents of these unstable kids get what's coming to them because of their negligence. But I'm saying, but certain individuals, again, let's get into the documentary. Vince got screwed twice.
Understatement.
Yeah, no Diddy. But I'm just saying, first, Vince McMahon Sr. Now again, and it's weird too in terms of how we like to tell the narratives. Because again, if you look at any historical WWF, WWF, WWE stuff, everybody adores Vince McMahon Sr. Oh, he was so good to us and he was so much different from Vince and he cared about people and whatnot. How can you say that when he neglected his son? So
Again,
again,
David.
but this is how we look at historical figures also, right? You can look at good and bad. You can look at MLK and say, hey, great, civil rights and all that, but he was a Rolling Stone himself. He wasn't a perfect individual. You could say that about a whole bunch of different people. So again, I'm the older I get, the more leery I've gotten over idolizing people or just discarding people. Like, you want to get on you need to get to the bottom line in terms of, again, how these people became who they are. So again, I neither hero worship anymore. Like, I don't have a lot of people on my wall. There's very few people who I'll wear in terms of like like people on my shirt, right? Like people, historical figures or whatever. Like I had a Hulkamania shirt that I wore for years. And then, when the tape came out and stuff he was saying about black people and all that kind of stuff, I stopped wearing it. So again, but you can find out. I mean, Bruce Lee, who I thought was, again, one of my idols. But again, the guy, unfortunately, at the end of the day, had a major drug issue, a drug addict, which potentially could have led to his untimely death. So again, this guy who's known for physical fitness and martial arts and philosophy and all these things, but yet he, in a lot of ways, was a hypocrite because he succumbed to the very things that he spoke out against. So again, how do I judge that? So again, I have to look at the actions of the individual versus I'm trying to get away from personal judgment of an individual, saying he was bad or he was good or he was great and he was this or that or whatever. Muhammad Ali, again, did a lot of great things in boxing and for black people and for history and whatnot, but the guy had a lot of issues. Unfaithful to his wives. I mean, just all kinds of stuff that, certainly I would find deplorable. But again, how do I judge? How can you judge anyone? How do you judge the presidents? How do you judge the founders? How do you judge those who wrote the Constitution? Half of them were slave owners. How do I judge that? So it becomes very. But Vince McMahon Sr. gets a lot of praise for his contributions to sports entertainment and professional wrestling. And you could possibly say maybe that's true, but he sucked as a father.
I was about to say that, Paul. I'm going to cut you off a second. I think he was probably a great business owner, but as a father, he probably sucked. And we hear that a lot. Like the guy who owned Tesla, he probably is a great businessman and a great inventor, but he probably sucks as a fucking father.
He's got like 10, 12 kids or something like that. I mean, I don't know if he's
I don't
spending
give.
time with
I
it.
don't know.
But I'm just, but again,
That's my point is trying to get to is
right.
a lot of these people that we know and if they're going down in history books are to the everyday us that we don't know. They look like great people, and there could be great people, but as family people, as a husband, a father, a grandfather, or whatever he is, he could be a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
Look, Vince grew up in a trailer park. One, he didn't meet his father till he was what, 12 years old, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Then, on top of that, he got sent to military school. Then he wanted to get into the business. He goes, nope, you're not going to get into business. You got to buy it from me. So he bought it from him.
Well, before you bypass that, why he was with his mom and stepfather.
Stepfather beat the crap out of him. And
Not
his
only
mom.
There's another one.
And
now-
that's what I'm saying. He got screwed. He got screwed twice.
No,
His
3 times.
real father basically abandoned him,
No, 3
and then the
times
stepfather abused him.
with the mother. I'm making 3.
Yeah.
And he has been incest. And I was like, whoa. What do you think? And did he get therapy? That's the question I was asking myself. Did this guy get therapy
There was
for
no
it?
such thing back then. I mean,
No.
I was getting that back then.
People argue about therapy to this fucking day, bro. You think he's going to get therapy back fucking then? You got to be high, bro, if you're thinking that right now. I'm like, think about it. And the comment came from Dave Ross. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your last name. I'm David Raskan.
Roscoe.
I
Yeah,
apologize
I
if I'm
mean,
butchering
it's
that. He's right. He is a piece of shit. I feel. Who do you guys remember? Ghost Rider when he writes his signs a contract with the devil and gives his soul away.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's Vince McMahon 101.
yeah. But again, it's more complex. It's still more complex. What were the scenarios and situations that led to that? So that's the thing. I mean, is
We only know what we were told.
historians have one of the toughest jobs
Oh fuck yeah!
in trying to how do you portray these individuals, and a lot of times people say history is really his story. So again, what perspective do you want to go with? You can do that for a lot of people. And so again, I've just learned over time to be a bit more nuanced and just call out the actions. And again, have people be held accountable for their actions and keep it there. So again, I'll talk about what you've done good, and I'll talk about what you've done not so good, or that things that you were terrible at. But again, as far as judgment, that's saved for, like if you're a pedophile or something like that, or if you did, something in that line, then yeah, I got no, you could say I got no sympathy for if you did that kind of thing to someone else. But I gotta admit, it's still hard. If you came from that, then what am I, then what am I supposed to, how am I supposed to ration that? You know what I mean? Maybe you don't deserve death, but maybe you just deserve to be institutionalized for the rest of your life or something. I mean, again, these are decisions that, again, even in the current culture, we have to make. And obviously, McMahon is going to be, dealing with, whatever he's dealing with in the legal process. We'll see where a lot of this stuff goes, and all the other people involved, because it's not just him. It's Laurinaitis. They're talking about Brock Lesnar. There's a whole bunch of people who could be, succumb to this thing, and so I'm gonna let the facts, play out the way they need to, to play out. But again, it's hard. But again, if someone's gonna say this person's this or this person's that, or people who try to come to their defense, you know, um, I try less to get involved in that or judging people, because again, how would you say, like, if somebody you knew treated you like a son, but you found out later on that they did X, Y, and Z? Are
I'll
you
be
just
destroyed, bro. I'll
but
be
are you
destroyed.
automatically going to throw away everything
That
that person
that
did
is
for
not
you?
simple.
No,
That is not simple.
That's what I'm saying. So
me
again, how do we?
personally, I'm going to speak for me. I would have never thrown away because what I saw was the sweetest person in the world.
Right, but I'm saying,
But
but you found out that person did something that was reprehensible.
yeah, I would have still supported him. I'm not going to throw everything I learned from him. And he told me, and that's me again. Some people say, after that shit, fuck that motherfucker. No, I'm
Hmm.
not that kind of person. Like,
Hmm.
if you have me my back when I need you the most, I got you back. I don't care what people say. I don't care what the facts say. I know what I know.
Hmm.
End of story. Again,
And that's where
David
the
might be
argument.
different. You hang on a second,
That's the
David.
argument.
And it is an argument, David. 100 fucking percent. It could be a huge argument. Like me and you, say we know Paul. Paul to me, he's been the sweetest, shiny bald guy ever. And you were, saying he is, flat headed piece of shit. And I said, fuck you. I defend him to the day the last breath comes out of my fucking lungs. But again, that's how things are.
And
But
remember that I
like,
said, remember
like
that I said earlier. Remember I said on the show, I had to find out something this week from my aunt and what my mom did that she hid from me.
Hmm.
That I didn't even realize what was going on. They're concerned with my mom, my sister, and her ex-husband. And what I found out, I told her if she would have told me, I would have cursed out both my mother and my sister. Like, y'all full of shit. Y'all contradicting and fucked. But the thing that you have to deal with and deal with the reality, people don't want to deal with honesty and deal with the truth. I had to condition my mind, my thought process, the way I view things. I say, you know what? I'd rather seek nothing but the truth. Either it's bitter or sweet, and deal with it that way.
Right.
Many
But
people want to
see,
live. Many people want to live in a lie.
even what you said though, truth gets funny, man. That's why I'm saying I'm breaking it down even more granular. I'm talking about facts. Forget truth. Truth is something that's like almost like intangible. What are the facts? And just deal with those. But when you say truth, then that means you have to come to a conclusion. Truth is like saying this is good and this is not. And it's
Uh,
not that simple.
I told you, saying, come on. When I refer to truth, I refer to truth that based off the facts,
Yeah,
not off
yeah,
of my
yeah.
opinion. That's how I look at fact and truth are like similar to one another. And I deal with your truth on my turn. I'm talking about the actual truth that is based off fact. And I do with this American society full of bullshit that everybody want to gaslight themselves and live a lie. This how I say America is fucked up and I'm normal. Because we live in a country that everybody want to lie to themselves. And they live with it. I'm looking at them like, I need to take it out of this bullshit. But this is like, I don't need this country need a therapist because you have people gaslighting themselves. For real.
Right,
Real talk.
right.
And that's
But
what
yeah,
we're doing in today's society right now.
right. But this speaks directly also to, now again, people don't like it. Like I said, I deal with this um logically. A lot of people say, people don't like cancel culture per se. But like I said, I'm good with cancel culture. If it's a 7-day week, I'm good with it 4 days out the week. I'm not good with it 3 days out the week. It's like I said, it's not simple because again, cancel culture, I think it's everyone's right. If someone does something jacked up that you might have been buying their product or supporting them in some way, and they do something that go flies in the face of your morals or whatever, and you decide not to support them anymore, I got no problem with that. You're the consumer. If I go to a store and that store says something or did something to me that offends me and my people or whatever, I'm like, I'm not going there anymore. And I would probably tell my friends not to go there more either. That's the power of the market. Like I've said in the past, the Montgomery bus boycott was cancel culture. That was a
You're right.
good thing.
That's a good one.
But people, but say, oh, cancel culture, whatever. But it's like, look, that's the marketplace. If you decide to play in the public sphere, then you have to go by what the public's rules are.
True.
And it's good that you keep stuff that does not pertain to the business, you keep that stuff away. But if you decide to go in this direction, then you got to deal with the consequences. You can't complain when people say, "Oh, well, they're trying to cancel me or whatever." No, you could have just stayed about your business. What? But a lot of people in these places think, "Okay, well, I'm famous, so I can get away and say anything I want," and you can't. But that's the price you pay for either the money that you're making from people or whatever. That's what you signed up for. That's the it's the character you were talking about, the biker guy, racer. What's the devil racer?
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider. That's what Ghost Rider signed up for. You sign that deal. Now you gotta live up to the terms of the deal. You can't say, well, the terms are unfair because you signed up for it. So again, I got no issues with if people like David said earlier, David Rosca, that what he feels about Vince McMahon, that is totally his right. Based on what we're learning, or even based on that, let's pull it back to the business, because I think there's a lot of people, even before this stuff came out, there's a lot of people who hate and resent Vince McMahon for what they believe he did to wrestling. Now, my man Eric isn't here tonight, but again, he cannot stand Vince
I'm surprised,
McMahon. But
actually.
Was that?
I'm surprised Eric's not in the comments yet.
But he despises Vince McMahon. But mind you, but Eric came up again. He was an NWA guy, Georgia Championship Wrestling, Mid Atlantic Championship Wrestling,
episode 2.
Right? World Championship Wrestling. That era from like 1985 to 1988, 89, or whatever. That was like his golden era of wrestling.
Remember the map had it all orchestrated? I was like, damn, that was a lot of territories.
Yeah, I mean he misses. He's an old school. He misses the territory wrestling. That's his. And for a lot of guys who, if you are a Gen X or a millennial, or a baby boomer, that's the wrestling that you grew up on. And so look, that's going to be, for a lot of people, they hold Vince McMahon responsible for destroying the territories.
So how do you feel that both of you guys feel like when he bought the company for $3 million, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong on my numbers here, from his father, and he asked his father, listen, you don't destroy wrestling, continue the way it is, yada yada. And he pretty much go, I lied. And he did his own thing and he destroyed the wrestling in a way. Or some people think he made it better. That's the next topic. But hang on. Why do you guys feel that he told his father pretty much, fuck you, I'm doing what I want. My company.
Well, again, the son gets the revenge at the end, right? Again, his father didn't even want him in wrestling. Then to get him into wrestling, he sent him to Siberia, away from the main product, to learn wrestling in the Newfoundland territory or something like that, way out. And he made that work, and that's when he finally got Vince Sr.'s attention, when he proved, he can do something with it. And then when he was there, he made him an announcer. So he wasn't even responsible for the day-to-day operations of the business. So again, he had very little regard for his son and what potentially his son could contribute to wrestling. So now, and he doesn't have a successor again, which is again bad parenting again, because you didn't think about, look, I'm not going to be here forever, and who's going to run the business. Now, he thought Gorilla Monsoon and those other guys, those partners that he had within the Northeast and the Philly territories, that they would kind of buy the company. But why wouldn't you want your son to have it? So now your son comes back again. The sins of the father, now they come back and now you're the one who's screwed. So again, I can say, yeah, Vince lied. He absolutely did because he knew where he wanted to take the product.
And he
But
did what that
again,
was.
Vince Sr. did not help in that situation or that process. He treated his son like a stepchild even after they got reconnected.
And Vin did the same thing. Vin did the same exact thing.
It's a past this prologue, right? Again, when is that cycle going to be broken? Bad parenting produces bad kids that become bad parents that produce bad kids. When are we going to break that cycle?
I don't think we'll ever break, Paul. As long as
Okay, I was
humanity is
I was
around.
asking this question. Your father did it to you. Jesse Ventura bring up several times, throw it in his face several times, and yet you did the same exact thing to your two kids. You took the business and you sold it to somebody else. Something that you had an issue with, but your father was trying to sell it.
Mhm. Well,
And I was like,
even before that, he did not want to move on certain. Didn't they say in the documentary he had a chance to buy UFC or something like that, or some? It
Yeah,
was
he did.
Sheen was trying to get him to buy. I thought it
UFC.
was the UFC, like
It
early
was
on. But
UFC.
yeah,
When UFC was like UFC 1 or 2, when
correct.
it
He
was
had an
first
opportunity.
coming.
He just dismissed him. It's like you don't. So again, the way he discarded his kids, and now you have a situation now with the exception, obviously Triple H is kind of running things, but there's no McMahon who's running wrestling. The McMahon's been in wrestling since the 1920s, and there's no McMahon that's involved in wrestling at this point. Almost 100 years later, there's no McMahon involved.
none.
I mean, but
But
that's the
but what
stuff.
made it worse, Triple H did it way better and greater than Vince McMahon done it. And the wrestlers who never want to work for Vince McMahon is now working for Triple H. They say, I want to work for this dude. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I hear you, bro.
I
Hey,
know,
hey,
I
good
know.
to see you.
I
Good to
wish you
see
were
you.
here too.
But
I
I'm, but
wish
I'm,
you
but
were
I'm
here to
telling you,
down with
man.
me.
I mean, there's so much here. But as far as the territories, again, see, this is where hindsight. This is where it comes in. I understand, and again, you got to understand back then also the mindset of the wrestling fan in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s into the early 80s. People like, I mean, when you talk about kayfabe and people like believing like wrestling was real. I mean, how many stories you hear from the territory days of guys in these barns and in these gyms and in these small arenas in the sportatorium in Dallas and whatnot, where their lives were literally threatened trying to get back to the dressing room. Like, I mean, bottles thrown, knives drawn,
Good, good
cars.
example. The Montreal screw job. What really
Mm.
happened
Don't even
behind
go
the
on that.
But
Whoo!
that's it. Even that doesn't hold a candle. I'm talking about again, I mean, the wrestlers themselves, their lives were in danger, where they needed police escort to get them from the ring to the back.
Due
And
to the
then
storyline
they
they
try to
play.
leave the arena and their tires are slashed and their windows are busted open.
Because of the storyline they play.
I'm saying the wrestling fan from that time, that's how passionate they were about
I
wrestling.
know.
Also, keep in mind, wrestling was the number one sport on television in the 50s.
Shit.
The number one out of boxing, baseball, football, all of that stuff.
Not only was number
It
one, it became American culture afterward.
Yes. I'm saying all this to say this. I empathize with the person who grew up in that era over that 25 years from the 50s into the late 70s, early 80s, who appreciates that product and what it was and how the wrestlers, how they again protected the business, the romanticism of the era and whatnot. But people are not going to like this. One thing people forget is technology. Part of the allure of why you were able to have territories was because of the lack of information spread out to the public. The main magazines of the day, Pro Wrestling
Mm,
Illustrated, you wouldn't find out about events that happened until like 1 or 2 months after they happened, which was to the territory's interest because again, you
later.
didn't know what was happening. Like when the wrestler came into your territory, it was like fresh. You didn't know what happened, that there was they lost the title in another territory or something like that, or something else went down. But in the age of the internet and in YouTube and all these things, there's no hiding anything anymore. So I think that with technology the way it is, the territories were doomed to failure because that aspect of the business in that you were able to keep like your reality and isolated from everybody else. You can't do that with modern technology now. When the internet came aboard, that would have destroyed the territories regardless.
Into my high,
And
into
maybe
my highlight,
Vince
Cass.
knew that. Uh-huh. Maybe Vince knew
You talking about
that
my
or
hypertension
had a
of the
premonition that they
high
couldn't
blood.
survive. I don't know. But for all these people saying, well, he destroyed the territories, yeah, he did to an extent. But again, y'all, I think we're gonna die anyway. That's my two on the whole territory beef. Eric's gonna hate me for saying that, but you got to look at the facts. I
I
mean,
think either way, Vince has some such that going in his mind. Like, I'm going to re-involve wrestling or monetize it, whatever you want to call it. And he created something different.
Well,
Some people might say
he
it was
create,
worse. Sometimes, hang
but
on, sometimes it might be worse. Sometimes it be better. But at one point, I thought it was better. I'll be honest with you. When it was, with wrestling, Monday Night Raw, excuse me, Monday Night Wars, I think that was the hype of the wrestling, with the attitude at following it. But when he got older, like talking about right before Triple H took over, yeah, that's where I had issues. It looked like shit at the time. And like some storylines, like okay, they use Roman Reigns for example. I had nothing against the guy. I don't know him personally, but they made him a god pretty much for 3, 4 years was it the belt on him? Nobody couldn't get it off him. And when Triple H fell down in his trap, he knew from the fucking start he had a problem in his hand. Like, okay, how do I fix this problem now? How do I get the belt off him? I'll make him look like an idiot. And the best one he had, Cody Rhodes finished the story, kind of, in a way.
but let me
Go ahead,
let me
Paul.
add
I
to
mean, David.
this. Watching the documentary, the first two episodes about how the business was being orchestrated, it allowed me to look at the at a business aspect of it. The reason why the territory was set and the reason why they had what called a gentleman agreement because every promoter was creating jobs for the people within their regions. Let's think about that part, right? I may live in Texas, but I can't travel up to New York and settle the ring. But there's a wrestling promotion here. I can do this job. I can get paid. I don't have to travel. I don't have to pay traveling costs right there and there. It was no problem. The promoter was protecting not only their business but also protecting their employees. If you think about it. But what Vince did was saying middle finger, I can screw you. If you think about what Vince did, it is slightly no different from all these major corporations doing the same similar bullshit, but his on more of a grander scale. Yet you are stealing talent from other promotion. You're saying, oh, you get more money. Yes. But at the same token, as I look at it and see how he was doing it, he was trying to build character, but there's something that always stuck out to me. Vince was never a wrestler. Yeah, he went to learn the business, but he never understand the wrestler mindset. If you think about
I
it,
don't think his father. I don't think his
could it?
father wanted allowed him to be a
Oh,
wrestler, right?
he doesn't, cause he had a feeling. No, you know how you watch your child trying to do something and you see his track of thought or how he do the how he approach things. You start to wonder, if I leave the business in his hand, it may do great, but it may also come with a lot of damage. Was actually what he did because even though it wasn't added to the documentary, there were a lot of wrestlers who had a gripe with Vince McMahon, who did not jump ship to WCW, but went to other wrestling promotion. Be documented. Started in WWE, WWF. He got shitted on, right? He left. He did Ring of Honor for himself, TNA, and came right back to where he first started. Kenny Omega started in WWF, got shitted on, went to New Japan Pro Wrestling, became the biggest well-known wrestler throughout the fence. He was a better wrestler than most wrestlers from WWE, hands down. Come to WWE, but it's not AEW. There's a long list of how many people Vince McMahon did dirty or shit on. And let's talk about how he treated his employee. Oh God, I'm not the pedophile ring that he had in the business. That he kept his right
Yeah.
hand man. He was the head hunter in that type of nonsense. See all the document,
Hang
and
on a
I'm
second.
like, yo, real talk, real talk. Why you thinking the 25 podcast take my petition came about Black David predict CM Punk and the Bloodline? Kiki.
Oh, fuck off. No, but I don't remember Kevin Omega or AJ Styles. Hang on, dude. I don't remember those two actually in WWF or starting their career. I don't even remember them in there. Um, maybe I was too young to remember them. So I'm not arguing that fact, but what I am going to argue is at some point I hate to say this. I really hate to say this. As fucked up he was in the
That's
head,
it.
he knew how to run a good wrestling show. He knows how to tell a good story. Let's be honest here, guys. If you could disagree, tell me, please. I'll give you the floor.
Talking about McMahon, obviously, right? So
Yes.
it again, it's in waves and in it's in waves. It's valleys and it's valleys and peaks. Certainly, him bringing the talent that in '84 when Piper came in and Paul Orndorff, and that was actually '83. That period from '83 to '85 with WrestleMania definitely changed the business. I mean, it did. Bringing back Hulk Hogan, I mean, genius moves, and he capitalized that. People didn't like the Rock rap connection. They didn't like Cyndi Lauper and all that stuff. But again, they got on MTV. That also led to Saturday Night's Main Event. Think about it. SNL owned that spot for decades. So the fact that he was able to garner the attention that allowed him to grow the business where they were getting national television recognition nationwide. Genius. Now again, I didn't like, in the mid 90s when again, like I didn't like Doink the Clown and the Gobbledygooker and all those silly storylines and whatnot. A lot of that stuff didn't make sense. It became too cartoonish.
Oh,
So
I
again,
agree.
I'll put him down for that. Now again, some people, and this is probably the most controversial, and again, but I admit that I didn't watch it. The Attitude Era, again, I didn't see it. So I can't speak on it too much. I'm only in glimpses. Again, it's almost like it's right down the middle. It split the country, I think, in terms of people who loved it and that more adult themed, reckless sort of mindset that he went with. And then some people hated it because again, it got too sexual, it got too dirty, and whatnot. Parents were complaining and whatnot, but nevertheless, for those who, so again, that attitude I think is always going to be controversial, but you can't deny that it helped to say, because again, once he got into that war with WCW, It was the Attitude Era and those characters that he helped to create. He ultimately outlasted the WCW and Ted Turner, and he ultimately won out. But then after that, again, there was another lull in the business,
Now,
and he was able
the
to. So
WTW
again, it's
Ted
there's
Turner
peaks and
issue,
valleys here that but that you judge the product over. But he turned it into a multi-billion-dollar business, whether you like it or not. At what cost? That made to the rest of the wrestling business, what it did to the territories, in all that local stuff when wrestling was in high school gyms and auditoriums and barns and things of that nature. Um, it's for anybody to come to the conclusion that they want to come to. So again, I think he had some hits and he had some not so hits, and clearly one thing is also for sure, that's the only thing he was good at, because the XFL, the WBF,
Oh, don't get me started on that.
all that. I mean, again, sometimes you have to understand that. Look, you stand, but again, I think a lot of billionaires are not, or people who are very successful are not immune from this. They think that because I'm successful in this, I can take the same concept and be successful somewhere else. The hubris of being successful oftentimes is what leads people to get into things where again they have no business going. Some people, even the billionaires, need to know, you know what, stay in your lane. Sports entertainment is what you're good at,
stay
and
there.
avoid everything else. But he just thought he had these ideas, and then he wanted to make movies and all these things. It's like that's not your lane. But again, billionaires, that mindset, they always want more challenge. They want to do something else, and you can't, necessarily be good at something else. But they don't want to hear that.
And this is why I believe why his father don't want him to run the wrestling business, because this is something I always say about the tech industry. Being a tech, me and Mr. Better know this very well. Being a tech is not as simple as running a business, because sometimes the people on the business aspect of thing, they know how to fix the issue that we tech are trying to fix, and they tell us to do X, Y, they're knowing that very well this is not going to work. But who cares? They're successful because they're successful businessmen. Yes, you're a successful businessman. Doesn't mean you're a successful technician. Our field of career have been invaded by ignorant jackasses who think they know what they're doing, but don't know whether they're sabotaging everything straight to the bone. The same thing in the wrestling business. Vince McMahon is a successful businessman when it comes to sport entertainment. I give him credit for that. But when it comes to creating and building wrestler, he have no clue what to do with that. And it has shown from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s. And even though he was able to brush it off because he tried trying to replace it, he got away with it though. Let me think about it. The how many weeks did WTW whoop their ass? 54, 52 weeks
Yeah.
straight, until something came through and he had everything a new era. But the
But
era that was
how
Vince,
much of that do you
go ahead.
saying how much of that do you put on Vince, and how much do you put that on simply the right people? You know, Stone Cold
I
Steve
I
Austin and The Rock
I
basically saved. They were at the heart of the Attitude Era and whatnot, and they helped to win
mhm,
that war. But those guys had to flesh it out because again, Stone Cold came in as the ringmaster
from
gimmick.
WTW.
Oh
Yep,
God,
didn't
that
didn't
was
work,
bad.
didn't work. And then The Rock came in as Rocky Maivia, didn't
That didn't
work.
work either.
But these guys, they were able to, but give Vince credit because again, nothing happens until Vince gives the okay. There'd
True.
be no Stone Cold Steve Austin. There'd be no Rock unless he said, you know what, go with it. So again, you got to give him some credit. He's saying
I'll give
he
him some
doesn't know how
credit.
to create
I would
characters and
I
he
would give
didn't
him some
necessarily
no
create these
I would
people.
give him some credit because certain people that he give them chance to, for example, The Rock had some leeway due to his father. So yeah, I give him credit for that. Stone Cold Steve Austin coming from WCW to WWE, in a way, Vince was like, you know what? I'm sure they didn't want him in WWE. Let's see if you can make this work. So he could be like a slap on the face. Yeah, you dropped the ball on this one. Now he the icon, which he ended up becoming the icon. Let's be real. He was doing okay in WTW, but when we got to WWF/E, he came way bigger than WTW himself. I think give what credit due. Yes, Vince had that lucky shot with these two characters, and he thought to create more, and thought to bring more in. And while Hulk Hogan and the outsider were looking outside, they're like, wait a minute, we might be losing steam here because WTW was more of a management and money issue. They were letting most of the talent coming from WWE over the shot the time they were building WTW with almost
Oh,
repeated.
plus it was terribly run. Jim Hurd basically at part was like destroyed WCW. He had no business being. He's a Ted Turner guy, knew nothing, absolutely nothing about wrestling and whatnot. The wrong people were running WCW.
Pretty
That didn't
much.
help matters at all.
And the same almost repeated something in AEW right now. You got almost the same similar thing. You have people who left WWE who were bent. I don't say bent over, they were bent on like, yeah, I'm gonna get my revenge. Went to AEW. Some do well, others decide to either retire or go elsewhere. It's like we see the same thing being repeated, and we're wondering that the people actually learn the history of whether or not to repeat the same mistake again. But then that's what the issue
Bingo.
is, because this is something that I've been saying for more than 2 decades in the tech industry. If I'm correct, these wrestlers they're part of a union, right?
No.
No, they tried union. Jesse,
Jesse Ventura tried to get those
thank
guys
you.
to do a union. In fact, he tried to orchestrate a walkout, but WrestleMania 2. He tried to
Hogan
get the
cock
guys
blocked them
to walk out, and then Hogan ratted them out, and that
big
ended
time.
and that killed any idea for union after that.
So in other
Yeah,
words,
because
these wrestlers
Hogan.
have
Listen, one thing about Hogan, I, as much I grew up idolizing son of a bitch. One thing I don't like about him, he only cared about number one himself. He never helped the guy under him. Like, let me help this kid out to make him money. Not like these guys now. They help the guy under. That's one thing Undertaker I give him so much respect. If you go
Hey,
up to
he
him,
have a
ask
lot of
him for
people.
some help,
He have a
he
lot
will
of people. A
help.
lot of people can vouch for that. A lot of people have vouched for Undertaker being that locker room leader, always helping a lot of people left and right. John
Yeah,
Cena used to be the one that to bury talent, and he had to learn a lesson the hard way to start helping people out. The one who do that now to this day, that people can say that he the real deal is Roman Reigns. They Roman Reigns helped a whole lot of
really,
wrestlers.
I didn't hear that about Roman Reigns.
Or people have been saying that he had that one point that give people the chance like, yo, you can do this. Even the point he lent his boot to other folks. So Roman Reigns have been trying to help people. His main storyline was trying to help his family even more, which The Rock did not do when he was a wrestler. Rock was
I
trying
do
to help like
understand his family's trying to help him. That part I get. I get about that. I didn't know the backstage stuff. Because I didn't hear too much
no,
anything
because a
about it.
lot of backstage conversations. Some of these wrestlers are now calling on Twitter, vouching on how they don't want Reigns to leave the company because they know when he's there, he speaks for other folks. He don't want people to be like be left behind or how you say get sabotaged. Because a lot of us get sabotaged in WWE, whereby they have
At least
great
back in the
momentum
day, there
going.
were.
And back in the day, they were, but almost in recent time when Vince was still running things, he was still doing that bullshit until the the controversy kicked him out.
Let's talk about this
That is the
conversation for a
issue.
minute here. Let's hit that. Let's talk about it right now for a minute. Do you guys feel like he actually did the nasty as everybody says he did?
Okay,
Molested them, all that bullshit.
you won't forget about how he had his right hand man who had that little boy shit going on,
Well,
We'll
actually,
get
that
to
was
that.
that guy Phillips. It was
and
this black
even
guy named Phillips. He was part of the Philly program. Now, again, I think they knew, especially Patterson. I think he knew a lot of that stuff. But it was that guy Phillips who was primarily responsible for that. So
I,
yeah.
I I agree with that part. But here's the thing: Xavier Wood even mentioned he even did his homework and knew that there was a lot of wrestlers with abusing drug, a lot of sex accusations, a lot of sexual assault they were going on. That he created his movie about okay, let's let's move away from that into gaming. That'd be an outlet so we could avoid another scandal. And I hate to say this, what like David Wood and his friend were doing on the up down down thing, it would come in so big that Vince was blocking it because it was going to multiple promotion. People were getting their how you call it their then moment or a chance to breathe.
But did you hear also what happened towards the end with all these content creators from WWE? He want to get they had to attach it or prove it. I can't remember the whole thing, but WWE tried to control their
Their
social
pay.
media. That was another source of income. Oh, they were taking they were had to get permission take money from the content, a kickback, pretty much.
It was crazy. That was crazy. That was stupid of them. They were trying to control everything they do. How you would say they're independent? How you would say they're independent contractor that you have on the paperwork? It's not so. Am I wrong, Mr. Bennett?
Yeah,
They're not.
absolutely.
No, if you say that, no, but on the contract, word for word, the independent contractor. You didn't say they're employee. To the independent
Correct.
contractor. If you
Yes.
had them in paperwork saying they're independent contractor, why do you have a say what to do outside of contract? No, let be logistic here because me and Ben understand this thing come to legal loophole. If we are taxed and they tell we're independent contractors, then what we're going to do outside of our contract,
It depends
nobody
if it's in the contract. The independent contractor stuff means that obviously there's when it comes to certain benefits, health insurance and things like that, they're not responsible. However, they can still put into the contract which you sign that says you cannot share intellectual property from this company with another employer. You still sign on to that, even though that language is in there that we're still independent contractors. And additionally, they'll still put those provisions in there that we're not allowed to share information. Well, you could
and
say, look,
keyword.
well, how can you tell me what to do? I'm an independent contractor. But again, you signed it. It's in there.
But keyword, you said another employer, but I'm a content creator. I'm not I'm not working for them. I'm working for me now. So it's not
It
me.
doesn't matter. If you again, intellectual property, if they
But
find
I'm
out
not.
that, let's say if you left and started your own company and you used a lot of that intellect those ideas or whatever that was
That I
developed within
get.
that.
But that I get. But when they're using their real name, not their wrestling name, they have a problem. Someone had to use their real name as a content creator, and you still want to have control over that. I'm like, seriously, how far away are you trying to do? And there was a pandemic, don't mind you. Number one, they wasn't wrestling, and they're not wrestling. They're not getting paid. So if they don't make money on the side, why are you blocking it? There's some of the things, all these American business practice that I don't feel comfortable about.
Yeah, I mean, look, they
But
load the deck,
they go too far to
but
too
it
over
happens. You've been
reach.
in IT long
This is
enough to
why
know
some people
they
don't.
load the deck. You know they do that. They like there's companies that's like when I was interviewing, I had to sign in order to work with a particular contract or whatever. I had to say, look, I can't apply for the same job to another contractor for like a period of time. Sometimes it could be up to 5 years. They said, look, we're gonna submit you for this thing, but in order to do that, you can't say if somebody comes if say if it doesn't work out, another contract company makes you an offer with the same company. You can't apply for that job through that company. You still have to go through them. And so I've seen some crazy language that is put into some of these consultant contracts, these independent contractor contracts that these guys try to get you to sign. Some of them I walked away from, but there was one that were like for 5 years. And if they find out, then they could sue you for up to like 50,000. It's the language in the contract. So
And this
I
is
think
not
they
that that's also why when Triple H took over, he changed a lot. People are happy to go to work. Like, only people who are not happy to go to work are people who are from the old regime. The new regime people go, "Hey, I love my job again." That old piece of shit can go eat Viagra and kicks bricks.
mm,
He doesn't give a shit. But like even the wrestlers are look at CM Punk, who hated Vince McMahon's living guts. He wanted nothing to do with him, and he had issue with Triple H. Triple, I don't know who.
and you thought you'll never come to WWE, but look where you at right now.
Bro, he fucking cursed him out in public news. He told him like they can go fucking cockblock. He went all out.
But
And
but
look
but here's the
last
joke.
night.
But here's the joke. He did work for WWE in a roundabout way on a show
I
on
remember
another.
that. 24/7, I think was it?
It was 24/7. It was some kind of broadcast show he did with WWE.
Whatever. Yeah, but he said he's not coming to wrestle because he doesn't like the part of the wrestling business part of it because his contract is very easy. He can do his family shit and whatever he wants to do. Yada yada. Now it's rumored his wife is going to come back too because she's seeing how he's happy. Why can't they be on if they're on the same show and traveling together? That works perfect, and I can see Triple H actually putting the money out and putting that on what's called it on ink and signing the documents for that. Absolutely, I can see that.
Yeah.
But again, before we jump the gun with that, it's going to be a fascinating time. But let's use Friday night last night, for example. I would never tell you I hate you when David's fucking right. If you say that, I'm gonna mute you. I swear to God, I'm gonna mute your ass. When he said, CM Punk and Roman Reigns are teaming up. I hate you fucking great. I swear to God, if you're right here, I will slap you so fucking hard, I'll make you sperm again.
I didn't say anything.
But as much as Dave was right, did you ever think those two guys are going to work together? Absolutely not.
I didn't think the only logic I had behind it because of one person, Paul Heyman. I was thinking about the Paul Heyman guy. How many Paul Heyman guy did
Paul's
he
favorite
have?
person.
The first Paul Heyman guy was who? Brock Lesnar. After Brock Lesnar was before CM Punk. What's the guy name? The son of the Mr. Perfect.
Oh, is that Owen something?
He's second generation. He's the son of Mr. Perfect.
Well, he's actually third generation, right?
Third generation.
Yeah,
And for some reason,
because Curtin Henning's father was a wrestler,
there you
and
go.
then his son also. He was, in fact, he was in a tag team with what's the guy's son? Mike Rotundo's son. Remember, I think he has like three sons in professional wrestling or whatever. And so he was one. Bo Dallas. He teamed with Bo Dallas for a time. Yeah.
And the fact that it didn't work well with him, then he got CM Punk at the Paul Heyman guy. Then after that, then he went straight to Roman Reigns. So I was thinking, what's the most like? I was thinking Brock Lesnar. I said, no, Brock Lesnar cannot come because there's a issue with the court case that he might be named as one of the people.
Their rumor is now he might be coming back sooner. I think the lawyers found a loophole that he has nothing to do with this and he can come back. But that's a whole different conversation, a whole different subject with illegals and bullshit. Fuck that. But one, let's use Triple H for example now with the Bo Dallas. Bo Dallas' career was dying really bad. I didn't know he was even still in the company, to be honest with you. How bad he was doing. But now, after stepping in his brother's shoes, and Triple H, running with the Wyatt family. I can't credit Triple H. He's good creative, better than Vince.
But the thing is, Bo Dallas' character was not doing too well as a whole. And there was, for what I was hearing, there was women that they want to incorporate into his brother in the whole Wyatt.
I think they did at first. Remember when what's his name? Before the Fiend, when he came back after he got fired, and he came back.
He did incorporate with when that Max, his Uncle what is it? Uncle what?
Wyatt.
Uncle Wyatt. But
no, Uncle Wyatt, Uncle Huey or some shit like that.
But the thing is, he would have been there a long time ago for some apparent reason. Vince was blocking it.
Yeah, he wasn't a fan of him.
And that's what I'm talking. Vince have a way on cheating on wrestling. He had an issue with Daniel Bryanson of being a wrestler, but yet Daniel Bryan.
Because he was small. That's why he didn't like his size.
You know, he don't like his
He
size.
had something about small people. No fun intended, guys.
Even though he was small, Daniel Bryan had a much bigger name outside WWE that Vince did not like to hear that he is a bigger name than that. And even after he left WWE and went to AEW, the amount of praise that dude was getting was burning Vince McMahon real bad. Vince McMahon was like, Oh, he's a much bigger deal than what you think it is. They were saying that he is the best wrestler, meaning they were shitting on every other wrestler that Vince McMahon created in WWE. Because let's be real, Brock did wrestle outside of WWE. He went to New Japan Pro Wrestling. He did that. Kurt Angle did it. He did that. Um, who's another wrestler from WWE? Uh, not Cedric. No, no, Hurt Syndicate. Not my. Bobby Lashley went. No, he didn't go to. He didn't go to New Japan with. No, the other
He's
guy.
trying to go now within
No,
AEW.
there are only a very few wrestlers that who worked in WWE after he wrestled in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they were recognized very, very well.
Right.
Not many. And those who never did, they got shitted on.
Yeah. And it's weird too because again, back in the Vince McMahon senior days, there was a good relationship between the Japanese wrestling promotions and the U.S. So
It's funny
again,
they said that
all
in the
those
documentary
guys,
too.
Hogan, all those guys wrestled in Japan while being part of WWF. Bob Backlund, when he was champion, he wrestled in Japan. So again, why that relationship died, I don't know. But again, Vince, again, I guess he had a different direction for the company and whatnot. So yeah, it's. But I want to ask just a general question, unless you have more questions, Pete. What do
No,
you
no, go ahead,
think
go ahead.
then? What do you think is, if you were going to say what the worst thing that Vince McMahon did to wrestling? Is it, again, the dissolution of the territories? Is it the removal of the kayfabe that was on? Basically, he exposed the business, or something else. Like, I know because part of the documentary dealt with the drug cases and the scandal, the steroid scandal that drew a lot of stuff out, which is one of the reasons why he exposed the business. Said, well, look, this isn't really sport. So we can't be governed by, because again, it used to be that wrestling used to be sanctioned by the sports bodies of the state. Just like the state sanctions over boxing and MMA and all these other sports, wrestling was under that. But the loophole that Vince decided to use and go with, it was essentially saying, look, this isn't real.
There is sport, yeah.
So we
I want to
shouldn't
break this down a
fall
little bit,
under the
Paul.
auspices of the sports, the state sports boards. But a lot of people think he really exposed. Now again, and I had my there is no Santa Claus moment with wrestling, maybe around 12 years old, where there was a time when I was younger, 8, 9, 10, 11, or whatever. You couldn't tell me wrestling wasn't real. It was like believe like a 5-year-old saying, you tell a 5-year-old there's no Santa Claus, right? So again, I had to have my wake up moment to say, yeah, this stuff is. So again, even with that, again, how much of certainly the general public truly believed at that time that wrestling was really sports entertainment? So did McMahon really expose the business, or did he simply acknowledge what the majority of people already knew? So again, between those things, what's the worst thing that you hate? Because again, the passion is real from those who, again, hate him for what he did to the territories. The Saturday Night Massacre. Y'all remember? I don't know if you guys are too young to remember that. This is when Vince McMahon bought the Georgia Championship Wrestling time slot. And so you had people tuning in on WTBS in 1984 at 6:05, only to see Vince McMahon walk out in that gaudy suit and say, look, basically, I'm the new owner. We're going to be bringing you great action from the World Wrestling Federation and all this kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. And people are like, what is this? It didn't last very long, thank goodness. And then people, got their Georgia wrestling back, and then Crockett in the Mid Atlantic and Georgia combined, and that's why you got the World Championship Wrestling Saturday night. But again, for a lot of people, again, to this day, hate. It was the worst day for those people in wrestling history. So what do you think, Vince McMahon, again, the worst thing he did to wrestling? And then we're going to follow up with what's the best thing he did for wrestling.
I would say destroying the multiple territory, because with those multiple territory was creating jobs for a lot of folks. That's the first part. The second part, I'd say there's a lot of sabotage in a lot of wrestlers' careers. There are wrestlers who have prominent career that had to leave the promotion and go elsewhere to make money. after some of the stunt he had on going through, which was kind of like if he doesn't like you, he have you do some kind of role that is degrading just because he doesn't like you, so to speak. It became a trend whereby if you're not like, they go just abuse you under the promotion until you quit. That was a trend that he passed out like a tradition. Even some of the older wrestlers did mention, yeah, we follow Q, even though we know what some of the stuff we're doing is wrong. We just we just did it to protect the business, which is kind of like no different from Fox News. You create a very toxic environment, and you say it's just business. Oh, just business, really. Someone has to learn that mindset from somewhere. Like, okay, we can do this in business and get away with it. So somebody, I mentioned someone. I remember seeing someone on TED was saying that they gotta do business around the globe, and they say people from around the globe have an interest in doing business with an American company because American companies are cutthroat. They have all type of savagery, but doing business with the other nation from other country is very comfortable. It's not so stressful. So when seeing what Vince McMahon did, first I said he destroyed the territory for Norm. He should have kept the way it is. It brings competition, but it brings choices. That was one. Two, where he sabotaged a lot of wrestlers, I did not like it. That's my cup of tea. What about you?
All right, Pete.
All right, so I want to break this down a little bit. So with the drug scandal, him releasing kayfabe, I think it was going to happen sooner or later. Maybe not then, maybe not later. With the way that with technology is going with the internet, it was going to come out no matter what. Now with the territories, it wasn't Vince McMahon. It gonna be somebody else had a crazy idea. Like, let's break down the territory and let's make one big ass fucking corporation. Okay. Um, but everything else, like the Monday Night Raws and stuff like that. Yes, I do. I didn't. I thought he would have, if it wasn't Vince, it would have been somebody else. So it could have been anybody.
Ted
Where
Turner
I had
or Jim Crockett. Right. It
it
could have
could have been
been.
anybody. The what I felt it gave nailed a call for me for him. Like, even creative, I think he did a bad job as not a non wrestler. He has some great fucking storylines. Let's be straight up here, guys.
Mm.
Like I remember the one time with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I thought they were going to cancel with DX. Talking about State of the Union kind of joke. I thought it was hilarious. Or the Winter Shield with Sergeant Slaughter stuff. But as much time he's done good, he has done some good stuff too. He helped a lot of people recover from drug and alcohol abuse. But he also saw the dollar signs on him. Draw me money, like he always say. That's why he told Shawn Michaels, get clean, you come back. Because he draws money. Where I started having a problem with him was the PG era. God, I hated that fucking era so bad. I'm just glad it's finally over. A lot of hardcore wrestlers like yourself, myself, Triple H. I mean, I'm saying this guy next to me, Black David, even Eric, were say that same thing. Like, anything before the PG era, they were liked it. Even they hated Vince McMahon. They were so sit down like, hey, you saw it last night. I remember going to high school, in the cafeteria. You're talking about the fight or wrestling. Those are the two things you were talking about, or in the locker room. And now you're not. Now, like, you ask kids, hey, you watch wrestling? Like, I'm not watching that shit. Now, after that, yeah, they're watching it.
Mm.
But they're not only watching WWE, they're also watching AEW. Even the views are down, but they watch it on. Here's the thing: a lot of people don't have cable. I don't know how they do the views thing because a lot of people don't have cable. They watch it through a streaming service, and the reviews are different. Or they watch it on like I do, like highlights. Three is TNA is back now with full force. They have some big wrestlers there, so the territory is maybe gone by the war of broadcasting, I will call it now, the new war is still alive and kicking. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, no, good points. I would say definitely, like I said, the post the early to mid '90s, where I think wrestling in general kind of had like a drop off.
Mm.
Again, I think a lot of the characters that he did, again, too cartoonish, too kid like, and again, obviously they weren't, wrestling was, I guess, on the decline, and again, the steroids scandals didn't help. So I certainly think that his handling of those issues, same thing with the kids and the pedophile stuff or whatnot. Again, I think those are probably the worst things that he did. Certainly to wrestling. But again, I'm not going to hold him responsible for the ending of the territories. I'm not. Like I said, I think that the territories were it was inevitable that with internet and information spreading around the globe in seconds, you destroy. That's what, again, that is what keeping that era of mystery or that delay in outcomes is what kept the territories relevant. And so I'm not going to hold him responsible for that. I think he was just progressive at the time. You know, I think that again, I got to give him credit for one thing in particular that people can argue this. He probably created the greatest heel of all time,
Which
Mr.
one?
McMahon.
Himself.
Was as integral to the Attitude Era and the transformation and the winning of the war between with WCW than anybody. So so again, that character. I mean, again, he basically he took everything that people thought he was, and he turned it into a character and put it right in your face, and people hated him for it. The heat he had with Stone Cold Steve Austin, that was, again, it's hard to you can hate the man, but again, it was genius. And it also let me know that, again, at the end of the day, the guy was more concerned about, again, making money and making, and ratings and all that. And obviously he drove those things up. So I think overall he was, again, an incredible contributor to wrestling. Again, not everything, not every era. But again, it's like stocks. You're going to have your highs, you're going to have your lows, and there was definitely some lows that we'd all do well to just discard. And again, the recent stuff now, again, whatever stuff comes out, hey, put him under the jail, put him whatever, 6 feet. It doesn't matter. I mean, he deserves anything he gets if that stuff comes out to be true. But again, he made wrestling into a multi-billion-dollar business. Even though it didn't necessarily work, again, I applauded the offer when he had the streaming, $9.99 a month, and you got access to everything. I loved it. I got access to the WCW libraries, the NWA libraries, all those territories, all that stuff for $9.95 a month, no pay-per-view. Again, it was forward thinking, didn't necessarily work, but again, at the time when everybody was streaming stuff, I mean, I thought that was a great deal.
Sad thing, they're finally going to shut it down completely now.
I know. So, again, good idea. Didn't have necessarily the staying power, but again, I think I think he did some great things for the wrestling business. Now, again, the fact that you don't have as many places. So again, I think now on the other side, the indie wrestlers, right? The guy who's in the state promotions or just, struggling through the indies, trying to get a break somewhere. I get it that, yeah, I mean, if WWE or NXT or whatever, if those are like your only options to kind of get recognized, yeah. So I'm happy that these other promotions are going. I love Ring of Fire. I mean, I'm not I'm sorry, Ring of
Ring of
Honor.
Honor.
I love Ring of. I mean, when you talk about wrestling, like at its best, as in terms of athletic contest, Ring of Honor was some of the finest wrestling that I saw in a long time. And I know a lot of it was influenced by Japan. A lot of those guys wrestled in Japan, so they brought that sort of Japanese style to American wrestling. So it was good in that I had options. If I want the big stuff, the big spectacle, then yeah, you had WWE. But if you wanted technical, mat, wrestling, athletic wrestling, or whatnot, with smaller guys, whatnot, like watch Ring of Honor with Michael Elgin, and I forget the other guy that he went with, like the wars those guys had. I mean, terrific stuff. I mean, I was thoroughly entertained, even though it didn't get prominence. Now I think they got absorbed into. I think TNA bought them out, or one of them bought them out. Either AEW or TNA bought out Ring of Honor, and now that they're kind of part of that now.
AEW has them.
AEW has it, but again, that was great. Now, again, AEW out the box, they were doing stuff that was ridiculous. They had this guy who was like invisible, this invisible wrestler. Remember that? The guy
No.
the guy was invisible, and the guy in the ring was basically falling and taking bumps and everything as if he was being hit by somebody who was in that he couldn't see in the ring. I mean, just a lot of stupid and wacky stuff off the bat that just wasn't that just wasn't absolutely. Yeah, Vince, he worked that thing. And again, the fact that he was able to even self-deprecate himself. The guys took stink faces from Rikishi, right? I mean, he did stuff that no, I couldn't see Ted Turner doing
I don't
or
think Ted
Khan
Turner
doing.
ever showed up on TV.
Was that?
I don't think Ted Turner ever showed up on TV on
No, he
wrestling.
didn't. I'm just saying. But the fact that again, it was all about the product.
Yeah, he cared about.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I'll go back on my statement. As somebody who could produce a good wrestling show, I got him credit. I can't argue that. But I can't say, yeah, oh my God, Vince McMahon was one of the best fucking wrestlers. Yada yada. No, I can't say that. He
No, he
continued to
wasn't.
bump.
No, but he generated heat.
Oh yeah.
You're
fired.
Yeah, he was the boss he was like the boss from hell that a lot of people could relate to. That the guy was like this. Yeah.
Triple when it
Relate
came down.
to?
Well, you never
I'm
worked in
just
a
saying
goddamn
new
kitchen.
experience. You
When
working
you work
for
in a
a jerk of
kitchen,
a boss.
then you can talk to me.
Yeah.
Well, like when Stone Cold and him went at it, that's why people related. If you had the asshole boss, you just want to fucking knock him the fuck out.
And Stone
And
Cold was their idol, their hero,
They loved him
their
for it.
martyr, because Stone Cold was he was the anti-authority. He's like, F the authority. We had enough. So his
on
character
top of
relate.
that, the way Stone Cold 316 came out and all that stuff, that was natural. He didn't fucking try. They didn't make it. He just said it at reigning King of Honor. He just, Stone Cold
Even Stone Cold
316.
confessed it. He said when he said it that
It was
day,
an
that
accident.
week, it went like a virus. Everybody would say Austin 316, Austin 316. It got so far. He didn't think he'd be as big as he is right now.
No,
He
the
did
next
not
day
think.
after King of Honor, when they went to Raw, and they looked around like there were 316, like, what the fuck? What the fuck happened here?
Yeah.
Hit the press room, make fucking shirts, go, 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 go.
Right. I would say this about it, again, going back to negatives about wrestling today. I mean, certainly, again, wrestling has always been built, whether it be the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. It was always built, the great ones, off of those who were allowed to be themselves. So when you talk about promos, I think about Jake the Snake Roberts. I think about Don Morocco, Jimmy Snuka, or whatever. Like, they just let these guys go. Now apparently everything is more scripted, where again, these guys cannot necessarily sell their own promo.
It depends who the wrestler is too.
Yeah, but it's but you
before,
built your roster, but that was part of the selection process. Yes, you had to be able to wrestle, and you had to be able to spit a promo on the fly, impromptu.
No, what I was going to say, during the PG era, he wanted empty scripted. There are a few wrestlers who come out there and just spitball. H was one of them. Fucking Rock, before he was the board member. Trying to think who else was it. HBK and so on. There's some wrestlers who can spit fire, like say, hey, ba 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 ba, and very simple, not a question about it. But some of them, like, oh no, you get a script, you're going to get fucking chewed out, big time. Like, great example, Paul Heyman is one of the few people who does not need a script. They tell him, okay, we need to do the point A to point B. You figure out the middle. We just need A and B. That's all we're going to give you. I know you don't like Paul Heyman, but you got Kim and credit on the mic, bro.
I hate
He's
Paul
good.
Heyman.
I
What
know
he
on the
I will
mic.
never. People talk about what Vince McMahon did to people. What Paul Heyman did to folks in ECW. He literally stole from. He lied to people. He stole from people. He had people maxing out their credit cards because he couldn't meet payroll, promising to pay them back or whatnot. He basically
I'm not
strung
arguing with you.
people. So again, but that Vince never did that to anybody.
Again, I'm not arguing with you.
That I
Yeah.
recognize, that I understand. But I mean, but Heyman literally cheated people, lied to people. I can't rock with
You
that.
mean the
Why he
ECW
has a
era?
job? Look, he's great on the mic. I'll give him that. He's
That's
great
what I'm
on the
saying.
mic
That's
at
all I'm
being
saying
that
right now.
guy. But he did a lot of damage to a lot of those guys that were on his roster that didn't make their way over. I mean, the Dudleys, they're going to be fine because they had successful careers in WWE, and Stone
And New
Cold, he
Japan.
was there for a minute, and Nick Foles, but a lot of those other talents that were part of ECW, they didn't have the success, and again, they wound up broke because of Paul Heyman. So I will never
So
forgive Paul Heyman for what he did to a lot of those guys. He screwed over a lot of people.
I'm not gonna argue with you. But I used to, now that I watch some couple documentaries and I understand the business better, I feel ECW was NXT back then, in a way. Because a lot of wrestlers who got into ECW, you don't think so? Got into
No,
WWE later on.
no, hold on. ECW will continue to be extreme. NXT is
I'm not
not
denying that.
extreme.
What I'm saying to
It's
you,
not extreme. It may be in that type of way. I might understand the debate on the developmental way of doing things. Yes,
that's what I'm
I
saying.
get that part.
They wrestlers who were new to the
That'll
business.
be FCW OVW.
Yeah,
You think about it.
I'm not disagreeing with none of that. What I'm saying to you, back then, that was the way to get in to WWE, go through ECW because they drafted a lot of people at ECW. That was the agreement Vince and Paul had at the time.
But beside ECW, they also had OVW for
And he
Yeah,
had a
yeah,
deal with them
that was a
too.
and they
partnership.
have and
OVW
they
was WWE's developmental.
and FCW also.
Right. So that they did have a working relationship with ECW, and certainly a lot of those guys came over, especially in the invasion angle. A lot of those guys from ECW were allowed to come over. Taz and all those guys were allowed to come over. So that was a good working relationship with a third party. So
And
I think that
and
was
the
a
best
good,
class
yeah,
they had from OVW was the Batista, John Cena, Randy Orton,
Yeah, a shitload over there.
Shelton Benjamin.
yeah,
Um, hold on. There was like 5 or 6 of them all in one group.
right,
Brock Lesnar,
Let's change gears for
Shelton
1 second here.
Benjamin. No, I'm not. I'm not going to finish it. Randy Orton, John Cena, Batista. Those 5 came out around the same class,
hmm,
if I'm correct. And out of
yeah,
those 5, only 4 of them was super highly successful, and one got the wrong end of the stick, Shelton Benjamin. Even though he was super talented, they did him dirty. But the rest of them was that was a very unique class of
yeah.
wrestler that came from OVW. That just they were high. Everybody was talking. You don't understand how that one class alone that came from OVW did so well. But while everybody was doing one was overshadowed for some apparent reason.
Yeah,
And he was rooming with Brock Lesnar. That was Brock Lesnar tag team partner. How Brock Lesnar get super big and he did not? I'm trying to figure that. I'm trying to figure the math behind that. Like something off here. Didn't
yeah.
Shelton Benjamin was Brock Lesnar tag team partner, and they were doing great. Then he got yanked off from there. They got sent to hold up, what's his name again? Kurt Angle to be part of that particular group. And after that,
It froze up a little bit. Go ahead, Peter. What were you going to say?
What I was gonna
You got
say was,
well catering. I'm looking feel like you.
hang on, let me see
David,
these.
you're freezing up some. You're freezing
Oh,
up.
sorry about that.
You're
I was
glitching,
just
buddy.
saying. I'm
Um,
glitching.
the other part that we also need to remember, Linda McMahon. She has a lot of politicians in her. You know, because she's a politician now. That's check number one.
Yeah, she's gonna be head of the education department.
Oh God, help us.
See, I don't want to hear about DEI when it comes to some of these cabinet picks that are going on. I don't want to hear I don't want to hear anybody else complain about DEI after this. So that's all I got.
Oh Jesus Christ. But what I was gonna go, Vince and her actually donated a lot of money to good causes like Special Olympics and so on.
Mhm.
But where I was really gonna go with this was we don't know all that. I don't think he would ever let go of power. He has mentioned to himself he's gonna probably die working 2 days die. I think it was somebody. All this stuff he did was on a hush hush, under payroll, whatever. He got away with it for years. But who tells me it wasn't his daughter or his son-in-law or even his own son? You don't believe it? Ratting him out. And he's all like, listen, you're not giving up power? We're gonna force you out, motherfucker. Now let's use it as a theory for a second. I said it before on my channel. I said other channels too. I feel his own family backstabbed him and pushed him out. Who goes first?
Uh, look, it's kind of hard to say backstab when he's been so dismissive of the contributions of his family. What he did to Shane, where Shane left for certain
He
periods
pushed
of
him out, right?
time, didn't again, he never groomed his successor. And so it's like so again, he kind of screwed just like he screwed his dad. I think it comes back. I think all again, this you have this cycle of dysfunction. Yes, even amongst billionaires. There's dysfunction. In fact, more stuff probably, but they can hide it better because they got money. So they can hide stuff a little bit better than anybody else. So again, the sins of the grandfather passed on to the father. Now the kid said, okay, now we're going to get you. Now you got this, they call it dynasty. It's like die nasty, right? That's what we used to call back in the day when that show was on. That's what we used to call it. We didn't call the show Dynasty. We called it Die Nasty. And that's kind of where that's kind of where this is. It's literally, if they wanted to create a show like a reality show, they could simply do it on the McMahons or a soap opera or something on the McMahons. Let the cameras go in and let them see everything that let them see everything and see that drama there. Now again, Loss is saying Vince ran his dad off, but his dad never wanted him involved. So again, I'll put a lot out on his dad, not so much Vince. Yeah, yeah. Shane ran off. Yeah. So I'm just saying, it's you could make a reality show or soap opera out of the McMahons and call it just the
You know
McMahons.
what?
You
Don't
know,
be surprised you get something like that one day.
I'm thinking, but
Yo,
it's
by the way, if they do that, I want to at least we want
but
forty
again,
percent credit.
it's just
These
like a
guys get
soap.
five
It's
percent.
literally a soap
David only
opera.
gets one. Me and Paul will get a good chunk for the channel. I'm saying.
It's literally a soap opera. Affairs, women, adultery, affairs or whatnot. The main guy cheats on his wife. It's like Dallas and Jr. Right, right. Jr. cheated on his wife every week on that show, and she just stayed loyal. She just stayed there and whatnot. But Jr. had to be Jr. You know, and Vince McMahon is like J.R. Ewing. I mean, he's like perfect
Let's not
typecasting
forget the
for.
King Lawler scandal with him and his son.
Oh,
His
what was
son
that?
Jerry the King Lawler and his son scandal.
Refresh my memory a
Uh,
little bit.
remember Too Sexy, Too Cool?
Yeah. Brian, Dan, yeah.
You remember the thing that happened to him that cut his life short? they coming from the back. They coming from the cinema about how if I were doing the same thing, but if I were kind of like on a hush shut. Like a
Mhm.
lot of things these wrestlers were doing, their kids seen it and almost doing the same exact thing. When I
Yeah.
had it, that I don't want to talk about it, but Vince was using his daughter as a
Well, yeah, they talk about in the documentary there was actually they were thinking about doing a storyline where he impregnated Stephanie.
Oh God, I remember that when I first heard
I
about it. I
mean,
like,
I'm like, yo, I mean,
bro, I'm not
that's
Paul. I when I was looking before they came out, I got the new setup set up. I got the new screen up, and I'm typing away. I'm looking. I'm like, I literally went whoop. I fell off my fucking chair when I saw that.
when I heard
I'm like,
that, I think the first thing in my mind, were you talking to Donald Trump? You know why I said that? Because he came on a View and said, "Oh, if I wonder if my daughter is so sexy," I was like, "Okay, you know what? This being
yeah,
a conversation bullshit." Just
David,
don't.
I don't want to get striked. So can we move on from that, please?
yeah,
No, but that I'm not saying anything wrong. I say Trump said it on the
I know. I'm
View.
joking.
I know, but
yeah.
when he said it, and I hear Vince say he want to do that story, like first came to my mind when he talking to Trump.
He probably
How
was.
that?
Don't forget,
How you did
Trump and
that?
him went out. They did a whole sent him together with what's called it. Um,
Bobby Lashley and your
the
Yeah,
manga.
the haircut match or whatever.
I
So it
yeah,
know.
was
for the
Umaga
Million Dollar
versus
Man or some shit like
Bobby
that.
I
Lashley.
forget. Yeah.
With Bobby Lashley, that was the guy.
Mm.
Was
But the
about
thing
I
is,
don't remember.
the wrestler was Bobby Lashley represent Donald Trump, and your manga represent Vince McMahon. Bobby Lashley whooped your manga, and because of that,
He had to
Vince had
shave
to
his
go
head.
bald
Yeah,
headed.
Vince
Yeah,
had to shave. Yeah,
I
Vince
did
had to
not
shave his
forget
head.
that part. But the thing is, that storyline when I first heard it, I was like, okay, you're going too far.
Right.
Because there's a lot of storyline he used was actually real life event when the Guerrero family. I don't know how many families he sabotaged, but he sabotaged a lot.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, just now, I will say this. And again, people may disagree on the uh, first of all the stunt as well as the decision to continue, but the Owen Hart
Okay, so
situation. Now, again, it was proven that obviously WWE wasn't responsible. It was whatever the company who had the harness or whatever, they were found liable and
Yeah, they
whatnot.
used a cheaper
But
harness.
again, but why put people in harm's way? And then secondly, the fact that he decided to continue the show. I
I
think that
don't
was a
think she
major.
actually
I
did
think
that
that
on
was a
purpose.
major. When people in the arena saw him fall and there was blood in the ring, how can you allow that to continue?
the Undertaker
So
I'm
say
sorry, that
personally,
to me
and
that is soulless.
Paul,
Undertaker spoke about it in depth. He said he couldn't understand how they do that, and he said even himself was not feeling. He was not even feeling calm. He said he was. He couldn't even. You could see on the video when he was in the ring and he looked and you see the look. He's like, yo, like
who
why
was it
can't
again, David?
they went when Owen Hart did that blue. What is it?
No, no,
Blue
no.
Blazer.
Who was in the ring? I saw his face. You're saying?
Undertaker. They showed the clip of the Undertaker was in the ring. They showed his face shot, but he was not in the right mind. He was like, yo, like he said it in his mind. He said, how can we continue like this? Like this does not matter. He said it
Was he
bugged
wrestling
him.
Undertaker that night? Remind me because it's been a while since I looked it up.
Undertaker was wrestling that night, and he
Okay.
did not want to wrestle. He did not want to wrestle, but he was forced to continue. It was like, yo, he said that thing messed him up the whole time.
Yeah. But I
Messed
think,
him
but
for
this
weeks,
is this,
probably.
but this is this. See, this is like I said. This is where going all the way back, where you create someone who is basically, I don't know what the exact term for it is. Not is beyond narcissist, like sociopath. Like he has no empathy or feel. Him, it was only about the business.
So hang on a second, Paul. So him putting people on harm's way, I don't think did that on purpose, any shape, way, or form. He always made sure or hire somebody, make sure. Okay, he jumped on the cage. Okay, what is the chances? So with the harness thing, I don't think he put him on purpose. They, say, okay, we'll go with a different company, or the company used different harness, whatever the case is. That cannot fall on Vince. Let's be honest here for 1 second.
I didn't put on this, and I said
No,
that
I know,
on
I
the
know, I know,
outset.
I know, I know. I'm not saying that. Now, him not canceling the show, your heart's a piece of shit. Very simple. You have no heart. You're a piece of shit. I hope you burn in hell. I hope when you go to prison, your ass gets raped over and over and over.
Let me stop you there. What if every man theme song? What the title you always say on theme song?
Oh, no chance in hell.
Okay, there we go. Let's continue.
But I'm just saying, but see that again. I mean that lack of empathy for how people feel, not even his own family. Like when he said, I think there was a part of in the series where he said like no one really knows who the real Vince McMahon is, and I believe that. I don't think Linda really knows the depths of what he's willing to
Absolutely,
go.
I agree.
His kids, where they're willing to go.
So,
But to me it's all about him and what he thinks. I mean, for him to make that kind of sacrifice, he would rather die, I think, than give up an opportunity to advance the business. And I think that's so to me but that's again, I think that's a lack of compassion and empathy that you develop when you come from a jacked up childhood like that. You have no, it doesn't matter how many people suffer, it doesn't matter how many people you hurt, even those who are closest to you, because you lack that what you should have developed in your childhood. He never got that. He got abuse and abandonment and neglect that made him where he's kind of like disconnected. There was another documentary on Andre the Giant that was on HBO when he talked about that. He said, anytime if something even gets close to affecting me, he has a way of shutting things off. He can disconnect his emotions very easily. And I think that just happens from a lack of it. When you can do things, this people who have that mindset, who can do things, who can just totally disconnect and do things. I mean, think about, assassins, think about snipers and people who can just, you have to be able to turn that off, your humanity off.
So that's where I want to go to my next part, and we're going to end it after this. So I want to actually bring Lost comment up. Saying Mick Foley has some matches that made a lot of feel the same way. So me and Paul, I met Mick Foley twice. You met him once, and he said it
Right.
the other day at Comic Con. Maybe I should have blocked a headshot. Maybe I should have done this. He made comment documentaries. Should I jump off the 50-foot ladder? I mean cage? No. Was it cool? Yeah. Was my wife was going to kill me? Yeah. Was his head cracked open with 50 stitches? Yeah. Was it worth it? No. McMahon even said in the documentaries he hated Mick Foley with a passion. That's why he put that mask on his face. He said he was an ugly, fat piece of shit. I don't want to ever see this guy. Put a fucking mask on him. But he knew he did one thing, and he still didn't want to bring him for that reason. But he had no choice. It drew him money. That's all he cared about in the day.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's going to look like at the end of the day, that's all he's going to have. So that we talk about that Bible verse again. What profits a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? So what has he lost?
A lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how close he is with Stephanie. His wife. I mean, that's a wife. That's a marriage by, I guess, mutual advantage somehow. I mean, obviously, her being connected to WWE with her wealth and everything obviously gets her into political spaces. It's almost like a marriage of convenience.
I think
She benefits and he benefits from that partnership, but there's no, I don't know if there's no love there. I mean, are they intimate? I mean, I don't think they've stopped being a married couple in the traditional sense I think for a long
Long
time.
time ago, for a very long time.
But again,
I think at first they loved
other
each other.
political marriages. It's like it's one that for mutual advantage, and they find benefit that they can get out of it. But it's not I don't think it's real. But I think both of them
What I would
are
say on that,
resigned to that. Yeah.
what I'll say on that, I think he was loyal at first. Yes, he did love her and all that stuff, but he always came around over time and he goes, enough is enough. All right, guys, let's get in our final thoughts and let's get the heck out of here. Dave, you want to go first, bud? David? Paul, you go first.
All right. Yeah, I mean, a very engaging document. If I had a critique overall of the documentary, I wish they would have went more into it. To me, it almost felt as if, I mean, obviously they needed cooperation from McMahon and the people involved. I get that. But in a lot of ways, it almost came off as that they had too much influence over it. It wasn't a true documentary in that they didn't go deep enough. I wanted to learn more about that childhood that he had. I wanted to know more about that stepdad and what that stepdad did to him. I wanted to know more about the death of what his mom did to him. I wanted to get more of that to really understand the man better, but everything was kind of like alluded to. Everything was kind of in shadows. You got the idea, you got the broad strokes generally, but I really wanted a deeper dive into what that was. It may have made me feel a bit more empathy for the man, but again, we got who we got, who was no question a narcissistic, uh, driven businessman who put that above everything else. Sacrificed his family, friendships, relationships, sacrificed everything for the sake of the business. And that's at the end. I mean, and you saw it because he still worked matches. He still worked gorilla position up pretty much until the time he was forced to leave. I mean, think about it. He's a billionaire. You got people, you got competent people who could run the company, but he's like, no, I got to be in gorilla position running the company at almost 80 years old. So that is who he is. That's his identity. He doesn't know anything else. He sacrificed everything for this identity and position. And so, but at the end of the day, he may wind up again with very little left in terms of relationships, in terms of legacy, especially if the stuff comes out. If it does, then I think he'll forever be tarnished for that. And again, how much of that you want to go all the way back to his childhood and whatnot. Again, the broader lesson here is, like I said, it's almost Shakespearean. How you bring children into this world matters. If you don't want kids, don't have them. Don't, for guys, don't put yourself in a position to have kids. And if you're going to have kids, then take care of them. But this is what happens when kids are abandoned. This is what happens when everyone says, we got to protect the babies. We got to protect the babies. And then these kids grow up with no support, no infrastructure, no guidance. And you get monsters who oftentimes in ways large and small can wreak havoc on society. And Vince, he's done certainly no question. I think the net of what he's done has been positive for the what is called sports entertainment. Now, again, a lot of people aren't going to be happy about that, disagree with that. Yes, I think he sped up the end of the territories. He didn't destroy the territories. He sped up the ending of the territories. Yes, he took the exposed the business. But I think, again, with information, I remember growing up in the 80s, you had TV documentaries and whatnot. Connie Chung did a documentary on wrestling and came straight up and said, yeah, wrestling's fake, y'all. And they actually showed you the moves of how they did things, how to fall, how they pull punches. They showed you everything in the business. So it wasn't Vince that necessarily was the reason for that. Everybody was catching on because of the rise in popularity of wrestling that, hey, this isn't the real thing. So I don't think he necessarily did a whole lot in terms of exposing the business. But he made some decisions that were so driven by money and so driven by just his obsession with winning that it cost people either their lives or, again, when we look in hindsight, what he did in terms of the aftermath of the Owen Hart situation with letting that show continue, with the over sexualized stuff, especially at that time when a lot of it was being marketed to kids. And he let, I think, too much with the TNA contests and the all that stuff he did in the Attitude Era. I think he took it way too far, so I'm kind of glad it went back to a PG product. I think everything kind of balanced out, and they got back to actual wrestling. So but again, I'm not going to speak anymore on the current situation until we get Obviously that this has to be litigated. But again, I did read the report. And again, if the report is what they say it is, then whatever happens to him. And I'm not going to shed a tear for him. But again, this is still a morality tale. When you make decisions on who you bring into this world and either abandon or abuse, society oftentimes suffers for the decisions that you make. So again, add this to the list. But overall, a good one, but it could have been better if they would have explored a little bit deeper. So I'll end it there.
Ah man, how would I say this? How would I say this? I would have to agree with the Paul Bennett. I too myself was thinking the same thing on the first two episodes of the documentary. I wanted to hear more information about his mom, about his stepfather, more in depth. But he did said he only want to answer questions that he felt comfortable in answering. And while I was watching him answer these questions, it let me know there's much more going on, and inside he's not really okay to let out. Some they kept in the back like, I'm not gonna let this one out because that's the case. I become a medical case, the mind of Vince McMahon, which I'm sure that would have been another thing. But seriously, this documentary allow you to think of everything concerning parenting. Even I myself would think about the same thing. What kind of man are you to have kids and abandon your kid? What kind of person you are don't have a moral structure that you follow that you would have passed down to your kid? Because here what he went through, I can say I'm glad I did not go through that. Because I know I have been open about what I went through growing up. But hearing what he going through, what he grew up to, what he became, what he become already, I had to thank God that I'm not numb, emotionally numb, because what he done so far, only God know how much damage he have done already. How many people had to go to therapy? How many people had to recover? Yes, he done a lot of good according to on paper, what he did to the bitch and everything. But what about the people who are affected by it? This is why I'd say this is a document for anybody needs to take the time out and watch first. Watch it, take note, sit down, discuss about it because this was not a simple document to stomach. The first two episodes will make you want to start to sit back and question yourself if your upbringing that bad or you got it easy. Because while my kid making noise in the back of my head when I try to keep his mouth shut, either way, but I love my kid, but I'm not gonna put my kid what Vince McMahon went through. Oh hell no! But seriously, don't pay mind to this big-headed boy who who's sucking basketball, as I was saying. Oh yeah, he wear the bonnet. I'm telling why he wear bonnet. Yeah, I'm throwing him on the bus right now because he won't want to shut up, and I warned him about it. I'm trying to get a do rag, but no, he like wearing a bonnet. What's up? What's up with that? Anyway, but still, I don't know. This documentary is still disturbing. The fact that I was able to watch it, I'm surprised I did. But really, people, y'all need to watch this. Sit down, have that conversation with your family, and see what kind of generation or what kind of legacy you gonna leave behind. Because this legacy the guy left, shh, man, you can't make this shit up. Real talk. My final thought.
So before we go, I want to show you guys something. I want to see if anybody remembers this. And I'll go with a quick schedule update, and let's get the heck out of here. Where is it? Share screen. Tell me if anybody remembers this.
I never did. I know about the bars, but I
Okay,
never ate
you
one.
at least you remember it. That's
Yeah.
all. And you say you.
I
So
had
I
one.
don't. I used to go crazy for them back when the ice cream truck come around.
I
But let's do a
remember
quick.
CM Punk said, "Bring it back."
Let's get a quick schedule update. All right, guys. Thursday. we are not having a show. I'm going to get fat and eat a lot of food. And Friday's my birthday, so I'm probably going to try to
Or
take off streaming. What? What?
you want to get fat and you want to be the turkey for Thanksgiving? Ah,
Listen, Earthquake.
I keep that. I'm not earthquake.
I'm going to mute you. Keep talking. Anyway,
Earthquake is in Texas.
next Saturday, we're going to be talking about David's favorite subject, Transformers. It gives me a chance to actually catch up on the last movie. If you guys need a copy of the new movie, if you want to catch up, I have a copy of it. I can, let you guys stream it.
Matter to me.
So, so on 12/5, we're talking about how long should you wait before you having sex with your partner. That is Paul's favorite topic I heard. On 7 we are talking about G.I. Joe, Dave's other favorite subject. And tomorrow we are talking about men's grooming, and a week after that on Gray we're gonna be an open panel. So we're looking forward to having all you guys come say hi to us. Gentlemen, anything else to say before we go kapoop?
Good show. Good
No, I
show.
would say you
And
guys enjoy your Thanksgiving, everything, but please watch that documentary. This is a must watch, even though we talk about it. There's so much we want to touch on this documentary, but I wish there was more information we can go on because it's so much, but it's still needed.
One
I
thing
will tell you that.
I want to leave off before we go. I don't know if you guys seen him lately, Mr. Man. He's not health wise. He's not doing good. He's in a cane, and he's not doing health wise. So I wouldn't be surprised before he's tried. He's like he kicked the bucket. The
mm,
same. So accept that, guys. He is Mr. President. This guy over here is CBN, Black David, Bear Paul, Earthquake, a tsunami, whatever you want to call the guy. I am Ghost of
It,
Sparta.
it's not gonna
As
work.
always, stay fresh,